What's up, everybody? This is Devious RV, and today we're going to be counting down my top 10 favorite Dragon Ball Z SH Figuarts.
Goodbye.
What's up, everybody? So then, at number 10, we have the greatest Dragon Ball Z character villain of all time, which I actually made a video of, and if you want to see that video review, which is a great review, and I talk about how great this guy is, how awesome he is, how he's just the greatest villain of all time, you can check a link in the description below. But yes, at number 10 we have Kui, who, his time was short-lived, like I said. I'm not going to talk about it too much, but he ended up being probably one of the most influential characters in all of Dragon Ball Z. Like Dragon Ball Z, a lot of the stories unfolded because of him. So yeah, he's at number 10. The figure ended up being really good. Like I said in the other video, you can be a really good figure and be a crappy character. And this guy was awesome. He's at number 10. So in at number 9, I have the Super Saiyan Blood Vegeta, which is, to me, this is my definitive Super Saiyan Vegeta. I know there's a lot of, Vegeta has obviously a lot of different looks and a lot of different forms and stuff. I mean, all the Dragon Ball Z characters do. But to me, this is the definitive look for Super Saiyan for me. It's probably my favorite Super Saiyan Vegeta there is. Yeah, when I close my eyes at night and I think of a Super Saiyan Vegeta, this is the Vegeta I look at, I think about. And yeah, this is probably the best Super Saiyan Vegeta. I don't really see them coming out with a better one, anytime soon. So yeah, this is why this Vegeta's at number 9.
I hate. Stupid boy, you will pay. Ah, yes, you're going to pay for everything you did to me.
Then at number 8, I have the Majin Buu, which is I guess this is the Super Buu version. There's Evil Buu, there's Fat Buu, there's Kid Buu, there's Super Buu. This is, I think, of the Super Buu version. And I'm not big on the whole Buu arc. It's not one of my favorites. They started getting kind of weird on some of the looks. Like the Gotenks and Vegito and all those. I'm not a big fan of a lot of those looks. And then just Buu, there's just so many forms of Buu, but I always think this is the definitive Buu look, and then this figure is probably the definitive Buu figure. So yeah, this is probably the only thing I liked about the Buu arc was, this look. I could care less about all the ones, but yeah, I love this figure. That's why it's at number 8.
Sad for you!
At number 7, we have Android 18, which is Android 18 and 17 were probably my favorite looking androids out of all of them. I think the whole androids, all of them were all really cool looking, but Android 18 was probably one of my favorite androids. And this figure pretty much represents that. It's a good figure. They might probably make a new one pretty soon, because this figure's been out for a while. Her and her brother, they could probably make new ones, but for now, yeah, I think this 18 is awesome. It's one of my favorite. That's why it's at number 7.
Yes, time to die.
And at number 6, I have the cooler final form, which I remember I had never seen the Japanese movies when they came out. I remember this came out in VHS. We bought it, and actually they had the soundtrack of Disturbed on there, so I always thought that was freaking awesome. And yeah, when they announced this figure, I was like, wow, they're making a cooler final form figure, which is cool. And yeah, I can never look at this character without thinking of Disturbed for some reason. So yeah, that's why it's at number 6, and the figure is really, really good.
Not too bright, are you, boy? You're even a bigger fool than your father. And that's saying a lot.
Then in at number 5, we have the Namek Vegeta, which is, I think it's called the power level 24,000. But to me, it's always like the Namek Vegeta. And this Vegeta is just, I made a review about this guy earlier, and if you want to check, I'll put the link in the description. But this Vegeta is probably the most badass Vegeta out of all of them, because this is the bloodthirsty version of Vegeta. And this guy just goes on a tear on Namek and just, just starts destroying everybody left and right. He starts starching guys. So this is Vegeta that I remember when I first got into Dragon Ball Z. I jumped in during this arc, and I always thought, man, that guy Vegeta's crazy. And then they just barely came out with a figure of it, and the figure just looks just like it stepped out of the cartoon. So yeah, that's why he's at number 5. And at number 4, we have the Android 18's brother, which is Android 17. And for some reason, this guy was, he was my number 1 favorite android out of all the androids. But the main reason that I liked him was because I literally dressed like this guy in high school. I literally would wear the same shoes, the same pants, the shirt. I wore a long sleeve with shirt overs and stuff like that. And, I had long hair like him, so I literally dressed like this guy, and that's why he's one of my favorite. This guy was literally me. And this figure is like 18. I think he's due for an upgrade. It's been a few years since this figure came out. It still holds up. It still looks really good. But I think this version of 17 and then the other 18, I think they're due. And especially when that new Trunks that just came out, which is a really, really good Trunks. He's a little bit taller, so I always figured the androids and Trunks were, usually around the same height, because they were all teenagers pretty much. So I think we could probably get a little bit bigger version of a 17 and 18, maybe a little bit taller and stuff. So yeah, that's why this figure comes in at number 4, and it's definitely a good figure.
My name is Cell. I am an android.
You're an android?
I am the single greatest achievement of my creator, Dr. Shiro.
And at number 3, this is kind of cheating, but it's actually like 2 figures. These 2 were sold separately, but it's more of like an accessory set. But it's the Imperfect Cell with the Cell Shell, which is the cocoon that he hatched out of when he went to the past. But yeah, like you gotta display him like this. I could probably display him a little bit better, but this is how I have him right now. And then, so yeah, this is a great figure. It just looks good, on the shelf when it's coming out of the cocoon like that, and it's just that version of Cell was just crazy too. So I think this figure is really good. It's like number 3, and it's one of my favorites. Then at number 2, we have Super Saiyan Broly from the Broly movies. This was actually the first character that I ever got exposed to in Dragon Ball Z. I remember we went to Mexico when I was a little kid, and they were selling a lot of I think they're like bootleg Dragon Ball Z figures, but this guy, I would see this guy everywhere. And I didn't know what he was, and then it was, I think I asked some of my cousins, and he's like, oh, that's from Dragon Ball Z. Like, oh, you never seen Dragon Ball Z? And I said, no, not really. So then this was like the first character I seen of Dragon Ball Z, and then I found out, so I thought this guy was like some big old important character at the time, and I found out that he just came out in like a quick movie, like a couple movies actually, and he wasn't even canon. So yeah, I always used to think he was like one of the best characters, and I found out that he wasn't at the time. They've incorporated him now, but now he's part of the story, but his look is different now. But I always thought this look was the best look for Broly. So he's a number 2, and this figure came out, I don't know, must be like maybe 10 years ago now at least. And they've come with other versions of it. They've had like a green-haired version. I think they did Comic-Con exclusive with just some of the decos different. But this was like the very first release that came out, and it's still one of my favorite figures. I got this for Christmas, and it's still one of my favorites. It's number 2. I don't see them topping this Broly in a while. It still looks great. And in at number 1 is the Meta Cooler. There's a lot of reasons why it's my number 1, but the main reason is just like the paint job on this is just like, this is just, Figuarts they do a lot of good stuff, but this was, to me, was just one of the best things I've ever seen. Like the chrome finish with the metallic is just, I've never seen another company do something like this. I know Super 7 did some Silverhawks. I don't have those figures, but I'd like to check to see how this is a similar paint job. But this one, it's cool because it doesn't really leave any fingerprints on it. At first I was like, man, this thing's gonna look dirty all the time. It's gonna have fingerprints all over it and stuff. But it doesn't really leave anything on it that I can see. And then just the reflections on it, look, you can see reflections on it pretty good. It's like almost like a mirror. And this figure is just, it's an insane figure. When I first got it, I couldn't stop looking at it. I just kept, you know, just playing with it, and just, I couldn't put it down. This figure is awesome. It just, I don't know if they can, I know for sure they're never gonna do another medical figure like this is it, but it's, I don't know, like as an action figure, this is like, to me it's like really advanced for, like, the paint job is crazy, and it just, the way it just reflects in the light, and it just looks really good. It almost doesn't even look like it's a part of the Figuarts line when you stand next to all the other characters, because it just looks so out of place, but then at the same time it just looks so good. So that's why this figure is number 1. You know, it's a great figure. So there it is. This is my top 10 Dragon Ball Z SH Figuarts figures. You know, this is my top 10. You know, they're not necessarily the best figures from the line, like articulation and everything, but these are my favorite. You know, when I look at my Dragon Ball Z shelf, these are some that I always play with. I pull them down and mess around with them and stuff, and, you know, pose them and stuff. These are my favorite figures. You know, I own like more expensive ones, you know, some Comic-Con exclusives and stuff like that, but just because they're expensive or rare doesn't make them better, you know. So, you know, these are my favorites. So what do you think? What's your top 10? You know, I like to see, you know, put it in the comments, you know, what do you think of my top 10? You know, I can make other videos like this. I collect other lines, so I'll do other top 10, you know, countdowns in the future and stuff. But yeah, so if you can drop me a like or not a like, you know, subscribe, you know, comment and do all that, do the thing, and thank you, and peace.